This is the introduction video to the Qualitative Analysis Cation Lab for On-level Chem. First off, congratulations on completing the last test of chemistry. You completed your retest over 18A and 18B. And this video is designed to kind of give you a little brief introduction to the lab that we're going to be starting on Monday and running all next week all the way through Friday. It is a qualitative analysis lab. So qualitative means essentially you are determining what you have, not necessarily how much of it you have. It's what qualitative means. It's you're determining the quality. What do you have? This lab is similar in some ways to the lab that you did at the end of last semester, but has some fairly key differences. In this lab, you're actually going to be running the same procedure twice. The first time, you're going to be running through and identifying a solution that you already know what's in it. It has all 5 of the potential cations in it. And we'll talk a little bit more about the procedure here in just a second. When you complete the procedure the first time, you're then going to receive an unknown solution. In that unknown solution, you will not know what's in there. It's 3 or 4 of the 5 that you identified the first time through. You'll repeat the whole procedure again in hopes of determining which 3 or 4 of the original 5 that you have in your now unknown solution. So in that for the first half of the lab, you'll have a known solution. Inside that known solution are 5 different cations: lead +2, silver +1, copper +2, nickel +2, and iron +3. Each one of those 5 cations have dramatically different colors. Lead is yellow, silver is white, copper is blue, nickel is a strawberry red, and iron is a blood red, almost brown color. As you work through the procedure, you will do a series of tests, and you will see all 5 of those cations in the first part. And you will show each one of them as you create them to your teacher. Once you complete the procedure the first time, your teacher will then give you an unknown solution. We know what's in that solution. You have no idea what's in that solution. But in that solution is a mix of 3 or 4 of those original 5 cations. So you will not have all of them. Instead, you're going to have some combination of those 5. Okay? You won't know, though. You'll have to determine it as you go through the procedure. You will run through the entire procedure again, do the exact same series of tests you did the first time, and identify which tests you have a positive result for and which tests you have a negative result for. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, we're going to be starting this lab on Monday, and it will be running all week, all the way through Friday. Now, we give you 5 days to do this lab. It does not take 5 days to complete. It realistically takes anywhere from 2 to 3. We give you 5 days just in case people are gone, or maybe you get sick and you need a day off of school, whatever. Or maybe you mess a step up and you need to restart the lab. That's totally fine. We build in some days to give you a little bit more of a window for completing this lab. Inside this lab is 2 lab grades and a test grade. The first lab grade is a safety/procedure grade. General things like following procedures, being safe, being on task, keeping your lab station clean both during and after the lab, the dumb questions, as well as making sure that you are not breaking anything. We'll talk about all the ways that you can lose points on the safety lab grade here in just a second. The second lab grade is the knowns. So as you go through the procedure the first time, remember, you're going to have a known solution where we guarantee you'll see all 5 of the potential cations. As you generate those cations through the lab, you will bring the test tube that has the solid that indicates the presence of that cation to your teacher and repeat the following praise. Mr. Flato or Miss Donaldson or Miss Thomas, the presence of the blank color solid indicates the presence of blank ion. So for example, when you make the lead lead solid, it's yellow. So you would bring the test tube with the yellow solid in it and say, Mr. Flato, or Miss Donaldson, or Miss Thomas, the presence of a yellow solid indicates the presence of lead plus 2 ions. That's exactly what you're going to do. And you're going to do that for lead, you'll do that for silver, iron, nickel, and copper. Each one of those cations is worth 20 points. So 5 ions times 20 points should be a nice, easy 100 lab grade for that. The second time, we will give you your unknown solution. You will run through the entire lab. You do not have to come show us when you generate one of your solids to indicate the presence of an ion. Instead, you're going to run through the entire lab, all on your own, all the way from the start to the end. And at the very, very end, you will come to your teacher and say, after our testing, we have determined that in our unknown solution, we had blank, 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 and potentially blank. Right? You're going to say what your 3 or 4 ions were in your unknown. That is a test grade. Generally speaking, they tend to be very good test grades. Most groups get it within 1 or 2 tries. If you get it right on the first try, it's 100. Great job. You'll go clean up your lab. It'll be great. If you get it wrong, we will tell you that you got it wrong. We will not help you any more than that. We'll give you a little bit more of your unknown solution, and you're going to need to run through your tests again. See which something you did in your testing was not definitive, or you guessed wrong. You are free to make another guess immediately. We tend to advise against that, but it's kind of your choice. Every time you guess, you will lose another 10 points. So if you get it right the first time, it's 100. If you get it right the second time, it's a 90. Third time, it's an 80, so on, and so forth. All right, let's talk about that safety lab grade a little bit more. A lot of the things that you could lose points for are the things that we've been talking to you about all year. A lot of the safety stuff, like if you're not wearing your goggles, or if you're messing around not paying attention in the lab, if you are using your phones or your iPads in the back of the lab where you don't need them, we'll take off points. If you're not following the instructions, if we tell you to do something and you don't do it, we're going to take off points. If you have a very messy station, or if you leave class and your station is messy, we're going to take off points. We assign you to a particular station so we know who is supposed to be where. The dumb question rule is once again in effect. If you ask a question that is something you should know from the procedure, or something else that we have explicitly put down for you to find in the lab, we're going to take points off. Now, that being said, if you have a question, ask. Please ask. Whether you think it's a dumb question or not, ask. We will warn you before we answer that it's a dumb question, and that if you really, really want an answer, we'll give it to you, but we will take off some points for that answer. So keep that in mind. If you break a test tube, we're going to take off some points. Last semester, same thing. Last semester, they were 25 points or 25 cents every time you broke a test tube. This time around, it's going to be 50 cents if you break a test tube, for a pretty simple reason. These test tubes are nicer. They're a little bit stronger, so hopefully they shouldn't break nearly as easily, but they're higher quality, so they're a little bit more expensive. So if you do break a test tube, you're going to owe us 50 cents per test tube. Another little thing that was a little different than the fall, if you run out of your solution, if you make a mistake and you need more either known or unknown, we are going to make you essentially pay for it by taking some points off your safety lab grade. We give you more than you could possibly need at the beginning so that you have a little bit of extra, but if you do need more because you made a mistake or something like that, we're going to take some points off to give you some more solution. Now, if you break your test tube and it goes down the drain or whatever, we'll give you some more for free, but we are going to take some points off for the test tube. So that's all the ways you can lose points on the safety grade. Test grade I've already talked about. If you get it right on that, if you get your unknowns right on your first try, it's 100. Second try, it's a 90. Third try, it's an 80, and so on and so on and so forth. Just some more general safety stuff, guys. Remember to always be careful with the equipment during the lab. If you have a spill, clean it up and tell your teachers, so that we know what was spilled and where. Some of the stuff that you're going to be dealing with can potentially be toxic, so it's always good for us to know. You will be using centrifuges throughout this lab. No question about the centrifuge is a dumb question. They are very, very expensive. If you break them, that's a very, very big deal. Mr. Flato spent a good part of Wednesday and Tuesday fixing a bunch of the centrifuges so that we could have a bunch to use. So if you have any questions about the centrifuge, please ask. They need to be balanced. Also, you use centrifuges a little bit, but please, please, please ask. Don't just jump right into it if you don't remember how to use it. You'll also have some hot water baths that you'll be dropping some solutions in and out of. Please always make sure that there's plenty of water in them. If you see any of the DI hot water baths starting to get low, let us know, and we will very quickly refill them so that it's not an issue. If they get too low, it could cause the beakers to shatter, and that's not good. Last but not least, guys, goggles at all times. We're dealing with a lot of chemicals. I've had chemicals squirt into students' faces, and the only reason it didn't get in their eyes was because of the goggles. So there's a reason we make you wear them. Please, 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 if you are in the lab or near the lab, you need to have your goggles on at all times. So, what do you need to do right now before we start the lab, or before we start it on Monday? You need to either pick or start thinking about who you want your partner to be. You can have one partner, a single partner. It is our recommendation that you pick someone who is going to be there, is going to be reliable, because both of you have to be present for you to work in the lab. There is no free one day, you get to work by yourself today rule this time around. If you know that you're going to be gone next week, tell your partner now. Don't let it be a surprise that, oh, well, my partner said suddenly is now going to be gone for the next 3 days. That's a big deal. So talk to your partner, communicate what y'all's schedules look like next week. On Monday when you come in, or potentially Friday for not Mr. Flato's classes, you will get test tubes from your teacher, and I will assign you a station. Make sure you clean out those test tubes very, very, very thoroughly with DI water. You don't want any extra ions inside your solution from old experiments or anything like that. Make sure that your test tubes are labeled A through D with a Sharpie. You want them near the top so that they don't come off when you put them in this hot water bath. And when you're ready on Monday, you'll come in, grab your test tubes, and get your known solution. And then it'll be off to the races. We're going to kick back a lot on this lab. It's going to be very, very much student-driven. If we have to interact too much, it's probably not going to be a good thing for your safety grade. This is really designed, this entire lab is designed for you to be able to do it on your own with little to no interaction from us. Let us know if you have any questions, and good luck on the lab.